Welcome to the Google Cloud Summit live stream. My name is Natalie Puco and I am a Google Cloud customer engineer based right here in Sydney. We are coming to you live this morning from this beautiful space in Carriageworks in Sydney. And as you can hear, we are just about to start. In a few minutes, as you can hear, we are just about to start, so you've joined us just at the right time.
Google Cloud Summit is about to commence.
We are about to start the live stream,
22 and 20.
and we have three key keynote speakers that will be joining us this morning. We have Colin Tim, who's our head of Australia and New Zealand. We also have Jen and Paul, who are from Octo, or our Office of the CTO, and they've come over from Mountain View in California from our head office or our HQ, along with a lot of other product managers all around the world to really bring to you the best content live today in our keynote. So if you are just joining us live, my name is Natalie Puco and I'll be your host for today's live stream. I'm a customer engineer based right here in Sydney, and we are at the beautiful space in Carriageworks. This morning we have around 2.5, nearly 3,000 people that will be joining us here for the day. And we also have nearly 3,000 people that have already joined us right here on the live stream. So today you can expect some great content. It's an immersive event where we have industry leaders, industry professionals, IT leads and developers really talking to you about what's next in Google Cloud and what Google is doing in the cloud space. We've had some very exciting announcements for Google Cloud right here in Sydney, especially this year, of course, one of them being launching our new data center. For the Google Cloud Summit here today, of course we have our live stream, but we have our keynote, and we also have 21 sponsors, 5 being platinum sponsors. They include our partners like PwC, Deloitte, we have Cisco, Rackspace, and Salesforce. So that's just a little sneak peek into some of the partners, our platinum sponsors that we have joining us here in this beautiful space in Carriageworks as we come to you live on the live stream. It's not too late to ask your colleagues or your friends to join. If you want them to come along, you can follow us on our journey. We have a few different social channels to follow. If you'd like to follow the hashtag Google Cloud Summit, that's the first way that you can follow along. Of course, you can join us here on the live stream. It's not too late. But in the past week, we actually just announced our Twitter handle specific for all the activities that the cloud team is doing right here in Sydney. So join us on Twitter, that's Google Cloud _ANZ. So if you are just joining us live, my name is Natalie Puco and I am a Google Cloud customer engineer based right here in Sydney. And we have an excellent lineup here for you this morning. As you can hear, we've got the sounds going off. Everyone's starting to make their way into the Google Cloud Summit, as you can hear. So it's not too long until we'll be streaming to you live the summit event. As you can hear, there's a lot of excitement. Everybody will be starting to make their way to the plenary very, very soon. I'll also be joining you as part of the keynote too with a G Suite demonstration. So stay tuned, and we'll have 3 other keynote speakers. The first one is Colin Tim. And Colin Tim is our head of Australia, and he'll be giving you a bit of an update on the activities of the team and Google Cloud and the Google Cloud activity over the past 12 months in Sydney. We'll also be joined by Paul and Jen, and they're part of our Octo team, or Office of the CTO, and they've made their way over from our headquarters in San Francisco to join us with a lot of other product managers and customer engineers, just like myself, who will be presenting a lot of different content today around data and infrastructure, around analytics, app dev, collaboration, and really a whole plethora of different types of topics to really give you a taste into where Google Cloud is heading over the next 12 months. So if you are just joining us live, you've joined us at a perfect time because we are just about to go into the keynote. So it won't be long until we'll be heading into the keynote area. And we have 21 platinum sponsors that are joining us here today. 5 of which are platinum sponsors, and they include PwC, we have Deloitte, we have Salesforce, Rackspace, and Cisco. We also have a lineup of customers as well that will be joining us right on stage. They include PwC and ANZ Bank. So really looking forward to hearing from industry professionals, from IT leaders, from some of our customers, from customer engineers, just like me and my team here based in Sydney, talking about what's new and what's next in the Google Cloud space. Now, right after the keynote, you're going to be joining, hopefully, us back here, and we're going to be taking you through a live walkthrough of the beautiful space here in CarriageWorks. We have some amazing demonstrations that have been set up right throughout the space just behind me over here in app dev, in collaboration, giving you a little insight into some of the innovations that we're working around devices. In machine learning, we've got some great demos around Kubernetes as well, some really interactive fun games. So stay tuned back here right after the keynote, and I will take you through live to join some of my colleagues as customer engineers to take you through some of those demos. So if you are just joining us, my name is Natalie Puco and I'm a Google Cloud customer engineer based right here in Sydney, and I will be taking you on a journey through the live stream today. So we have a great lineup here. If you'd like to follow along, not only on the live stream but also on our social channels, you can follow us on hashtag Google Cloud Summit, or you can follow us on our brand new Twitter handle that's created right here in Sydney. So you can follow along the team, and that is at Google Cloud_ANZ. So it's not too late to jump onto our cloud handles that have been created right here for our team in Sydney. So we have 21 sponsors joining us here today, 5 of which are platinum sponsors. And hopefully you'll get a little insight into some of the innovations and really how you can build what's next with Google Cloud. Now, hopefully you're asking the question, I love what I've seen today. I'd like to hear more about what my team and I can do to learn a little bit more about how I can skill up or get my developers up to speed with what it looks like to actually develop in Google Cloud. Well, we have a few ways that you can do that. We have hands-on labs, which is one way that you can get up to speed. We host those all over Australia, so that means you can actually come in, touch the technology, feel the technology, and get some great use cases that it's actually trainer-led. We also have quick labs and Coursera as a way for you to kind of self-paced working labs, and then of course get certified. So if you'd like to really prove your skills and get the certificate to say that you have the skills to actually implement our technology, this of course is an industry trend in terms of certifications, so there's 3 different certifications that you can take. If you're just joining us now live, my name is Natalie Puco and I'm your host and a Google Cloud customer engineer in Australia, and we are just about to go to the keynote now. Thanks for joining.
Welcome to Google Cloud Summit Sydney. Please welcome to the stage Country Director of Google Cloud ANZ, Colin Tim.
Good morning. Morning, everyone. How great is this venue? It's fantastic to be here at Carriage Works, Heritage Building. You kind of just imagine this here, a yard full of trains, a hive of activity in Sydney during the Industrial Revolution. But you know what? We're here to talk about the cloud revolution. But just great to be in this venue here today. Uncle Alan, thanks for that welcome. And welcome everyone. From wherever you've come from. We've got a lot of folk across from the ditch from New Zealand, a lot of folk from Asia Pacific, plenty from Melbourne and all around the country. Thanks for taking the time out to spend today with us. Really appreciate and respect this time that you're taking with us today. You know, it was a year ago for me, and I was sitting here in the audience at Cloud Summit last year, and was a week before I started at Google. A week before I started. A little apprehensive, certainly excited about the prospect of joining a new company. And as you would, you go along and you do your homework, and that homework took me to a place where you kind of have a look at your boss. He seemed to be a pretty cool guy, very smart guy. I think he's somewhere in the audience here. But more than that, I wanted to understand whether Google was truly serious about being a significant player in the public cloud arena. That's the homework that I did, and this one thing convinced me that Google is seriously committed to becoming a significant player in the cloud arena. And that is the unparalleled $30 billion that Google invests in its infrastructure and its global private network and the regions that we've created around the world. From 3 to 17 regions in 2 years. That's been a significant investment, and that was enough to convince me that Google would have the right resources, the right performance, and the right solutions in market at that time, sitting there a year ago, a week before starting out at Google. There were 3 things, though, that I did not realize sitting there a year ago. 3 things that I've come to realize over the last year. And the first is the culture of the company. And yes, certainly understood that Google, with its food and the beanbags and all the cool stuff, was there, and I'd heard a lot about that. But what I did not realize was the deep-seated respect that this company has for the user, the deep-seated respect that Google has for the opportunity, and the deep-seated respect that Google has and people have for each other. And this manifests in Google's values, in our core values. And so when you consider the user, that's having an immersed experience with our users, with our customers, truly understanding, in your case, your business, truly understanding the user experience across every one of our products, and being respectful of that and truly immersing ourselves in that domain. In terms of the opportunity and respecting the opportunity, you know, it's about the world, I suppose, that we're changing. If you think of the impact that we have in impacting, I suppose, the world around us, Google having a respect for that opportunity is so profound. And every opportunity that we have to engage with our customers, with our users, being truly respectful of that and appreciative of that opportunity. And then the respect that we have for each other. And this kind of manifests in the way in which we collaborate, the way in which we work together. It's centered on diversity and inclusion in the company, and really how we stretch ourselves, looking for that next possibility, and how we carry that through into the partner organizations that we work with and the customer environments that we work in as well. So I did not realize, sitting here a year ago, this deep-seated respect that we have is the cornerstone of our culture in this company. The other thing that I did not quite realize was the strength and the prowess that we have in technology and the underpinning of our platforms and solutions. And I knew that it was going to be cool, and there were some really exciting things that we were doing. But what I didn't realize is how it is so well centered on Google's mission that has been in place for the last 20 years. Yes, we're 20 years old this year. So Larry and Sergio, sitting in a garage 20 years ago, came up with this hairy and audacious goal or mission to organize the world's information and to make it universally accessible and useful. Talk about respecting that opportunity that Google has. But you bring that into a world of Google Cloud, what that means is how we're helping our customers organize their world of information across their value chain, and to not make it the proclivity of a few, but to truly democratize that across your organization, and to further enhance it with machine learning and artificial intelligence. Now, as Diane Green likes to say, this is about us supercharging our customers' information. And to be really honest, this is the sweet spot of Google Cloud. I knew that we were going to be big in data, but not to the extent of the prowess that we have in our data analytics, our machine learning, and our artificial intelligence arena. Now, I'm really pleased to be able to announce today the fact that we've been listening to our customers and that we will have BigQuery available in our Sydney region in Q4 of this year. That truly takes the sweet spot of Google Cloud to the next level for our customers here in Australia and New Zealand. The other aspect, though, of the technology that I didn't quite understand sitting here a year ago was the commitment and the focus that we have around open source technology, and as we have since the beginning of time for Google. Every invention we come out with, we open it up to the market and get market participation. But mostly how prominent that is now in a world of cloud, in support and alignment to container technology and microservices with Kubernetes and with Istio. That truly starts to change the landscape of how customers move to the cloud in an open source world. Having that open source cloud first principle, if you will, that embraces a multi-cloud and a hybrid cloud world with a common tool set and a common environment across the various cloud environments, whether that is in the cloud or it's on-premise, using that same architecture for containers and microservices, Kubernetes and Istio. I did not realize that at the time, the impact that that has in our cloud world today, and you'll hear more about that through the course of today. The third thing that I did not realize, joining or about to join, sitting here a week out from joining a year ago, was this, and that is the momentum that we're seeing in the marketplace. You know, I kind of knew that cloud was big and we were doing lots of things here, and that public cloud would be most prominent in that. But understanding this kind of revolution that we're in here now, and the revolutions we've been through in the past, and I've kind of been around almost 30 years serving in IT and seeing, you know, mainframe technologies and open systems, client server, PCs, the internet, you know, mobile, video, etc. But nothing as significant as what we see now in cloud technology and how it's transforming businesses. And Gartner say and predict that by 2020, this marketplace will be around $410 billion. The interesting thing, though, in the momentum here is that we're only 10% of the way there. So that means that the work that you're all doing out there, only 10% of that work has been done. So sitting there a year ago, I didn't realize that full extent of opportunity that we have to engage with you to help you transform and move to the cloud. The momentum is significant. The momentum also that we have in our partner community. Now, I'll say this to you. We have our Partner Day tomorrow, and this is so important in terms of the way in which we're serving our customers. Last year, I think there were about 100 people at our partner event. Tomorrow, we have almost 1,000. This partner ecosystem is so critical to us, and I want to thank these partners for being with us here today. You'll see them outside. You'll see their their wares as they demonstrate and show. Particularly, though, Cisco, Deloitte, PwC, Rackspace, and Salesforce as our platinum sponsors. This partner ecosystem in bringing solutions to you is critical to the success of Google Cloud. Also, the customers that'll be talking here, both in this keynote as well as the Exec Connect and some of the breakout sessions as well, really big appreciation for that. You'll hear from ANZ Bank and PwC up in this keynote a little later, but all of these customers being present and participating through the course of today. Thank you very much for your business, and thanks for being involved in today as well. So we've got a really cracking day lined up for you. It's very exciting, even though the weather, as Uncle Alan said, is a bit foul. Sydney-siders have arrived. That's important. Get out there, meet the Google experts, spend time with the folk there, get to the showcase. We've got plenty of showcases out there. We also have a hands-on lab and the partner pavilion as well. So get to immerse yourself, get to experience what is going on, and connect with each other as well. That's always the opportunity at these types of events. I will encourage you this, though, as well. At 4:30 this afternoon, we have our lock note address from Anil, who is our Senior VP for Product Engineering, one of them. In fact, he is based here in Sydney, and he runs the Google Photos business worldwide for Google. And a very exciting presenter, a very exciting executive, fascinating, and he's going to talk to you a little bit about how things work at Google, how we work as an organization. So make sure you're here at 4:30 this afternoon to hear that. Look, cracking day, very excited. I hope to meet as many of you as I possibly can through the course of today. But hey, let's get on with the keynote. And so I'm going to welcome to stage here Paul Strong. Come on up. Thank you. Cheers, mate.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Wow, fantastic to be here. Some of you may recognize me. I was here last year. It's amazing, the growth. Fantastic to be back in Sydney, one of my favorite places. Strangely enough, one of my daughters actually lives in Australia, so it's always wonderful to be back here. There's a family connection. So, there's a lot going on. I think what we see happening around us, we talk a lot about transformation and disruption. It's very, very profound. There's an enormous opportunity because of how technology is changing everything that we do. There's this global opportunity. There's something in the region of 3 billion smart devices out there. And those are enabling all of these interactions with things like electronic commerce and so forth. And we may at one point have talked about the notion of we live in interesting times. I think what we live in today is interconnected times. And if you look at things like Metcalfe's law, they tell us the value of these networks increases exponentially. And so what we see happening is an enormous explosion of value of this interconnectedness. And this interconnectedness results in torrents of data being created. Something like 2.5, I'm forgetting my numbers, million terabytes. That's actually 2.5 times 10 to the power of 18 bytes of data per day, every day. There is more data generated every year than in all of the previous years of human history in aggregate. And so there's an enormous opportunity. There's enormous opportunity for organizations, whether governments, enterprises, whatever, to transform themselves, to take that data and actually become much more connected with their customers, with their employees, to deliver new value. What we really see happening, and this is what digital transformation is all about. There's an imperative. There's an imperative for change. This disruption is not about technology being used to make things faster, cheaper, and simply more reliable. It's about doing things differently. It's about organizations delivering new and different value to their stakeholders, engaging in different ways, delivering new types and classes of service. And we have to do that because technology has created a level playing field for everyone to play on. Disruption can come from anywhere. A small startup with 3 people has access to the same technology as the large leviathans out there, and they use it to attack your value proposition, the things that you do and make. They use technology to disrupt. And we see that reflected. We see that reflected in what's happening even in, if you look at the S&P in the United States. The general lifetime of a company, which used to be in the order of decades, is being reduced. The churn rate, companies disappearing, going up and up. There's an imperative for everyone and an opportunity. There's an opportunity for the small and nimble to disrupt and to deliver new value. And there's an opportunity with all of this data for the large established businesses who can get more intimate and greater understanding with their customers to deliver ever greater value and build on the investments they've made over many, many years. What we see happening as well is that from a consumer or a customer perspective, everything is changing too. It's all about instant gratification. It's all about this expectation that they get the services they want anytime, any place, whatever device they have. And so it's incumbent upon us as technology providers to actually place the right technology, the right applications, the right data, the right things in the right place in the network just before someone wants to consume something. If there's a message from a technology perspective, it's that we're in this just-in-time world. And cloud is at the heart of enabling us to make this transformation, to do all of this. And so if we think about how to make that journey to the cloud, we can think in terms of three main imperatives. The first is divest. It's get out of the business of doing what doesn't truly differentiate you or give you an advantage. Cloud allows you to do that. It allows you to get IT services, whether that's infrastructure, whether it's software as a service, from someone else. If it doesn't differentiate you, why spend the time and money on managing it, on acquiring it, and all of the hard work that goes with it? Make it someone else's problem. We'd argue that you should make it Google's problem. Then we believe you need to invest. You need to invest in driving what truly differentiates you. Understanding that differentiation is about intimacy. Remember, we talked about that torrent of data. That's what generates that intimacy. You want to turn that data into decisions and those decisions into actions through applications and services. So you want to invest in the technology that truly drives your differentiated value or your engagement with your partner ecosystem or with your employees or with your citizenry if you're a government. This is the great opportunity that we have today to focus on what you're really about as an organization or a business. Because at the end of the day, you have to innovate. As I said, the small and nimble, the startups with nothing to lose today have access to exactly the same technology as the large leviathans with everything to lose. The real difference is once you're large, you have a few customers and a few $1 million in revenue, you have something to lose, and your behavior changes, and you don't disrupt things as much. You don't take the same risks. But you have to. There's the innovation imperative, because it's going to happen. Those small startups, small organizations, or those left field players have access to that technology. The acquisition of technology is no longer a barrier to entry for your competition. And so there is this imperative to invest in innovation. So at Google, we can break this down into 4 areas where we specifically think you can focus on, both from an invest and a divest and innovate perspective. The first is really around transforming infrastructure. We'll talk about that first. You can think of it in 2 parts. The first is, how do you make your existing infrastructure a proper cloud, but in such a way that it's interoperable and looks like the public cloud, so that when it comes time to make the choices, you can move your applications and services that you already have from your existing data center out to some other infrastructure where you don't have to worry about nurturing all of that physical infrastructure. We'll talk a little bit about Google's infrastructure and why we believe that even though we give you choice in terms of the technologies we provide, we are still the best place to run your apps and services. Secondly, we'll talk about reimagining work. If you think of the foundations for this transformation, it's really what you think about infrastructure and then transforming how people work together. How do you get to a place where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts? How do you drive the collaboration which inherently results in innovation? Because innovation is really about getting people connected, different backgrounds, different roles, and exchanging ideas. That's where the excitement happens. That's where new change and disruption come from. We'll talk about intelligence everywhere. How, once you've built your foundations, how you turn that data into insights and decisions. And then we'll talk about how we turn those decisions into actions by building the applications and services that connect your organizations with your customers, your employees, your stakeholders, or with the machines in the world around you in the Internet of Things. So if we think about infrastructure, the real problem with infrastructure has always been complexity. It's not the number of things that you manage that causes the problem and drives complexity and cost. It's the number of types of things that you manage. It's not the number of servers, it's the number of server vendors that you have to manage. It's not the number of operating systems, instances, it's the number of versions and the rate at which you have to patch them all. And so we see that the economics, even though things like server costs have come down, the cost and complexity of management has actually risen over time because of the complexity of managing all of these disparate things. Now, at Google, we really tend to think about this. Urs, who is, I think, employee number 8, and has driven our infrastructure over the years, tends to think in very simple terms. Our strategy is what he calls one of sublinear growth. How do we make sure that technology the cost of technology is always less than and isn't increasing at the rate at which our business grows, so it becomes ever more economical? And there are two types of, there's one real mantra around doing that. It's to simplify and to automate. And so when we think about simplification, what you want to create is a single operational model across all of your infrastructure. And so this is what we're doing in the ecosystem, and it's what we're doing specifically at Google. If you can't make everything the same so you can make it easy to manage, you can make it look the same and feel the same. And so that's what technologies like Docker have allowed us to do in terms of deploying applications. You no longer care about the underlying infrastructure, what it looks like, you can deploy your app anywhere. And so our investment in that at Google has been in Kubernetes, creating an environment with a single operational model, regardless of what cloud you run in, whether you're in your own data center, or whether you're in a public cloud like Google Cloud, or whether you're in one of our many competitors' clouds. It turns out that they're using this too. This starts giving you choice. We've been investing in containers and the roadmap to Kubernetes for the best part of 15 years. Google started deploying containers in 2003. And Kubernetes, which is an open source project, so you can download the code, get it from GitHub, you can contribute to it. Indeed, there are thousands of organizations contributing to that code today. We launched that based on our experience of managing these containers. We spin up something in the region of, I think, 4 billion containers a week or something insane. Totally mad numbers. And we built this tool to allow us to automate it, and we put it out into the community as an open source project so that everyone can actually make their own internal cloud look, smell, and feel like a public cloud. And when it looks, smells, and feels the same, then you get great flexibility. You can use the same people, the same tooling, the same processes, all the same resources, whether you're managing on-prem or off. You get choice. And of course, at Google, we offer Google Kubernetes Engine so that actually, for people who want a managed environment and don't even want to care about creating clusters, you can run your Kubernetes workloads in Google Cloud and not have to worry about the underlying infrastructure. We will manage the health of that infrastructure and deployment of it for you, so you only have to care about marshalling your applications and services that are in containers. So first-class Kubernetes experience off-prem. But remember, we said about ultimately we want to make sure you have this choice and you have the same experience on and off-prem. So what we announced at Next in San Francisco about a couple of months ago was actually Kubernetes and GKE specifically in your data center. So you don't have to set up this environment of all these clusters of physical infrastructure to run Kubernetes. We announced availability of the alpha, for which you can sign up today, and it runs on VMware ESX 6.5, in fact, vSphere 6.5. And so for our customers in that world, you will be able to get this single curated experience where you don't have to worry about the underlying infrastructure. You'll get this curated Kubernetes experience, identical on and off-prem in your data center on Google's cloud, and you get to manage it from one pane of glass, giving you a choice about where you run your applications. You can run them in your data center, and when you feel comfortable with it, You can push it out to Google's data center and make it our problem. But giving you this choice and flexibility isn't just about this operational aspect of managing containers. What we really need to do is allow you to manage the applications and services that run in those containers consistently. Again, giving you, if we can do this in a multi-cloud world, then we give you flexibility. You know, you need one model, one set of skills for managing your apps and services, but then we give you choice about where you run them. And so we actually, in the same vein as Kubernetes, we have an open source project called Istio. Istio allows us to create secure service meshes so that you can securely connect sets of microservices together into a mesh network. You can have universal observability, so you can see all of the applications and their traffic with each other very, very clearly. And then you can manage that traffic through load balancers and things like that. Connecting all those applications and all those microservices. In fact, they don't have to be microservices or even in containers for you to leverage Istio. So we've invested in Istio, same kind of heritage as Kubernetes, to allow our customers to get even greater insight into managing your applications and services. And again, at Next, we announced version 1.0, and that it's actually available and being used in production by customers today. So Istio, again, open source partnership, Cisco, IBM, Lyft, and so forth. So we're working with the broad community to deliver this capability, not just on our cloud, on your cloud, in your data center, but across other clouds as well. All of this is about giving our customers like MasterCard, customers like AutoTrader, an environment where they're able to better automate and manage the life cycle of their applications and services, but to do it consistently on their cloud, on our cloud, potentially on our competitor's cloud, to do it in a simple way, and then have the choice of where they run their apps based on who they prefer, the service level, whatever. So we're investing heavily in this open source environment, and we actually have a new set of services or a new product that we're going to be bringing to market with the Cloud Services Platform, which brings together Kubernetes, Istio, and other tools in Google Cloud together so that we can manage those applications more holistically. So hopefully you're convinced that Google is actually providing the platform for this open and interoperable world, so we can create, in effect, one kind of uniform layer over cloud so you can have simplicity and you can automate the management of your applications and services. We still believe that Google Cloud is the right place to run those applications and services. So as Colin said earlier, we continue to invest massively in our infrastructure. We have something like a $30.1 or $30.2 billion three-year trailing CapEx investment in our infrastructure, and we continue to roll out new regions throughout the world and continue to invest. One of those greatest assets, and one of the things that was a surprise to me when I originally came to Google, is actually our global network. Our global network, I think one of my colleagues once joked, Google has a navy. We have ships laying fiber under the ocean, which is completely insane, if you think about it, but we do. And we carry that network, which is privately owned, carries something like 25% of the entire internet, which is probably one of the world's largest data carrying networks. And so that allows Google as a business, for our search and YouTube and everything else that we do, to be able to distribute applications and data very, very effectively across the globe, to get scale, to get reach, to reduce latency, and that can be leveraged by our customers. And so we announced recently tiered sets of services for access to our network. There is a standard tier, which is typical of most of the cloud providers you will see out there. But we actually have a premium tier as well, which allows you to get all the benefits of the network. What that means is if you are running across multiple regions, multiple geographies in the world, you will not have to exit the network, go across a telco, and then come back in. You can distribute your applications to get the lowest possible latency, regardless of where they are in the world, and the greatest benefit in terms of throughput. It's an enormous opportunity for our customers to piggyback and benefit from Google's investment in its own network and get all of those benefits. Of course, we work with our partners in the networking space ultimately so that we have something like, I think, 125 points of presence globally of that network, so we can connect very, very close to you, whether it's in your data center or whether it's in a hosted environment or through one of our telco partners. Again, all about making connectivity of your apps and your data as simple and trivial as possible. One of the other benefits on the networking side is our customers can also take advantage of all the work that Google has done to make our environment incredibly secure. Our network is sufficiently large that we can resist probably the largest denial of service attacks that can be mounted out there. And our customers can benefit from that. They can sit behind the same global load balancing technology and so forth that Google does. And so we are able, and we announced a product, again, a thing called Cloud Armor, recently in the last couple of months at Google Next. This allows our customers to benefit from the same trust and security and tools that Google uses to protect itself. We can protect you against the very largest denial of service attacks on the network, because our bandwidth is something like 10 times the bandwidth of the largest denial of service attack that we've actually seen out there. And we can actually protect against malware, even things like SQL injection into scripts and things like that we can protect you from. So again, taking advantage of Google's investment in our physical infrastructure. And it's not just about new applications, it's also about traditional applications. We continue to invest in that infrastructure for applications such as SAP. So for example, we have 4 terabyte VMs, and we announced that in 2019, we'll also have 12 and 18 terabyte VMs. We're also partnering with Intel and SAP directly on bringing to market their Optane technology, which is persistent memory. That allows us to build much larger machines, virtual machines, for our customers, our mutual customers, to run things like HANA on. So again, providing you a roadmap for your existing applications. And in light of making that transformation simpler, we also, earlier this year, acquired a company called Velostrata. Velostrata allow you to seamlessly stream an existing application from on-prem, running in a VM, to off-prem into Google Cloud. And so you can actually migrate, in case a running application, more or less, maybe with a few seconds downtime, from on-prem to off-prem using the same data. So typically, the challenge with moving apps has been whether they're stateful or stateless. This allows you to move a stateful application from your environment on-prem into the public cloud. So giving you a brief overview of the areas of focus, thinking about the 3 things you need to do to divest, invest, and innovate, and the 4 areas around transforming infrastructure, transforming work or reimagining work, and we'll talk about turning data into decisions and decisions into action. But to talk about the next phase of the journey, specifically reimagining work, I'm delighted to welcome to the stage my colleague, Jen.
Thanks, Paul. What a great audience. So thrilled to be here in Sydney. Paul talked about transformation. And transformation isn't just about tools and technology. I think you can probably all agree. It's also about people and how they do work. Moving from legacy desktop office tools to cloud-native solutions isn't just about moving your data and storing it in a new location. It's actually about empowering your people to work differently and to be able to work more collaboratively in real time. Before I joined Google, if you had asked me if my teams were collaborative, I probably would have given them pretty high scores. Of course, there's always room for improvement. And then I joined Google. And I realized what it means to collaborate in real time. It's like the step change between car to air travel. When you're given the right tools, you're able to approach problems in new ways, and you're enabled to rethink what's possible. But it's really important that you have the right tools. So if I were traveling from Sydney to San Francisco, I'm not sure that I would be brave enough to travel in this retrofitted vehicle. Instead, we look for the right tool. We look for something that's purpose-built, that's able to be safe and more efficient to travel from point A to point B. Now, I know you're probably thinking, we're not in the business of getting people across the Pacific without getting wet. But my point is that you have many of the same challenges in that your people, your employees, are probably not collaborating as efficiently and as effective as you would like. They're maybe caught in version nightmares, right? Where people go offline, work individually, and then you come back and try to merge all these changes. Very time-consuming. Perhaps people are spending time on activities. Our studies show that 8 hours a week, people are spent trying to search and trying to bring data together. And 11 hours per week, spending time reading and responding to emails. I don't know about you, but that's way too much time for me. We also know that people don't have access to the right information. We have content that's siloed in folder structures and emails, and so it's very difficult for people to find that. This is why businesses are turning to G Suite to reimagine how work is done. Let's take a look at what that looks like. Can you roll the video?
Whoa. Next Friday's pitch.
On tomorrow.
Way to go, Berlin.
Hey Google, join the meeting.
Great. Now, I don't have a cat, and my dogs aren't allowed on tables, so I don't have that problem. But what you saw is something that I do on a regular basis. Many of the tools that you saw and how they were used is how we work at Google. And what you saw there was a team that collaborated using G Suite tools to successfully tackle a very high-stakes challenge in a fraction of the time that it would normally take, and probably in a way that just isn't possible with legacy tools. So G Suite is the richest cloud-native collaboration solution that there is, making it faster for people to work, giving people the ability to work more efficiently and more securely. But what really sets G Suite apart? There's 3 key principles: secure, smart, and simple. Let's take a look at each of those. We start with secure. We have eliminated attack vectors that most people, frankly, take for granted. You're not going to find users with Google Docs on thumb drives. Our full stack security is self-administering, meaning no security patches, no software upgrades. So your users, you don't have to worry about them running on old, outdated versions. And our optional security keys are easy to use and complement passwords. So unlike older tokens, the security keys just plug in, and away you go. They're highly resistant to phishing. And because of this, we've had 0 incidences reported or detected of G Suite account hijackings, which is incredible with security deployments. Well, let's talk about smart. At Google, we've spent many years investing in AI. I'm sure you're familiar with this, but to help people work smarter. In G Suite, we leverage AI to automate some of the repetitive tasks, things like replying to emails or formatting content. We also use it to make collaboration more effortless. I mean, what do I mean by that? One of my favorite features in Calendar, when I go to schedule a meeting, I enter in the attendees. It automatically suggests rooms by location, by preferences, and by previous booking history. Saves me a ton of time. We also help enable people to search and find information. So I'll give you an example. Quick Access in Drive now uses cues from your upcoming meetings as well as recently opened docs to suggest content that might be of relevance to you. This is truly bringing information at the right time for people. Now let's talk about simple, because frankly, one of the key reasons that G Suite has really enabled business transformation is because it's easy to adopt. And what we've seen is that people who continue using legacy tools continue working the way they've always worked, which for the most part is asynchronously. But with G Suite, we found that people start to find new ways to work, to collaborate. In fact, 74% of the time spent in docs, sheets, and slide is working collaboratively, meaning multiple people creating and editing the content in real time. It's also easy to administer, so you have a single streamlined view of your data, your users, and your devices. Great for the administrators. It's also easy to deploy. As an example, Nielsen, who is a large information and measurement company globally, migrated their users, all of their users, 40,000 over 100 countries, to G Suite in one weekend. And now they're taking advantage of real-time collaboration. So what's the result of all this? It's a platform that Colin mentioned has great momentum across the board. We have more than 1.4 billion active users. 80 million students. Why is students important? Because these are the workers that are going, the next generation of workers, the ones who are going to come to work expecting the experience that they've been using for quite some time. Last year, we mentioned we had 3 million paying businesses. This year, we're up to 4 million. Incredible momentum. We're also thrilled to have amazing customers. Customers like Airbus, Whirlpool, and Colgate-Palmolive. They understand the value of these incredible, precious resources called people. And they're empowering their people to work more collaboratively across the organization. They're also using G Suite as a tool to drive cultural transformation. I'd like to show you G Suite in action. So I'd like to welcome up Natalie and Asuka to give us a demonstration of G Suite.
Imagine this. You've had the morning set aside to come to the Google Cloud Summit. The team knows you're here. You walk through the door and ping, you get a text. Now, this is an urgent text for a project that's brand new that needs to be complete now in a seamlessly impossible time frame. Now, I am certain that this has happened to someone this morning as they've made their way here. So when this happens, wouldn't you want your team to have the tools to do their best work and in less time? Well, let's show you how we would do this in a G Suite world. I have a demo buddy here. Her name is Asuka, but she'll be playing the role of Sammy. Hi, Sammy.
Hi, everyone.
So Sammy's left her laptop at home on the kitchen bench this morning, but lucky for her, she's got one of our grab-and-go Chromebook loaners. She also has her security key and her to log in for two-factor authentication. So let's take a look at Sammy's laptop.
Looks like Julie created a chat room for Project Alpha, and we now have to submit it in 2 days? Well, at least we've got a framework we have to use right now.
So Hangouts Chat is a way for teams to collaborate and share information. As you can see here, a slide deck has been embedded in the Hangouts chat group, and all the right permissions have been added. So let's take a look at the framework that Julie has shared. So, as you can see here, we've got the slide deck, and we've got team members who are actually in here already collaborating, and they're in 2 different countries across the world. Now, Sammy knows exactly what her next task is, because comments can be assigned as actions to different users.
Julie wanted me to check on the phase 2 regional sales. That's fine. That means I have to go to my datasheet to check the numbers. Lucky I could search through my drive here via Explore directly on slides. So I go look for that file, and boom, I'm in the sheet.
So sheets, just like docs and slides, can be collaborated on in real time. And nobody gets a workbook is locked warning. So spreadsheets are actually one of the most relied upon sources of data in the enterprise. Yet only 30% of enterprise users actually feel comfortable manipulating a formula. So with Google Explore, this happens automatically. Pivot tables, slides, graphs, and insights into your data happen just through a click of a button. You can even ask your data information in natural language, just like you would on google.com.
Now, I don't have time to crunch the numbers. What I could do is I could use Explore to actually ask my data for the information that I need. So what is the average revenue? Right, so it says it's 800,000. We've grown from 300,000, and I can now go ahead and update the slides.
So now that Sammy has the updated revenue number, she can jump back in slides and in real time update the team on that new number. And she can also confirm that she's completed that action.
I can now mark this comment as complete, and another task done.
Notice we aren't sending emails back and forth. There's no version 1, version 2. There's no Russian roulette. This happens in real time.
Now it's time for me to schedule a sync meeting with everyone. I can do that instantly here from slides through my quick access panels here on the right. So I go and click into calendar, and I'll create the event from there.
So some meetings are just best discussed face to face. But when this happens, and especially when you're in a race against the deadline, this can be really, really hard, harder than necessary. So with Suggest in Calendars, Sammy can go in, and Calendars, using the power of machine learning, will actually suggest time blocks, time zones, and meeting room resources that are available for everybody who are joining the meeting.
Looks like the best time to have this meeting is at 11:30 a.m. I go and select that, and I hit save, and everyone should be able to get that invite. Now that I have the updated figures, I really should go back to Jay, our external partner, via email.
So now Sammy's going to jump back into email, and she's going to use Smart Suggestion. So as you can see, when Sammy starts to type, it starts to suggest what she might write back in this email. And again, using the power of machine learning, what this does, of course, is speed up the rate at which we can complete some of these very simple tasks. To confirm the suggestions, she hits tab.
This email is going to an external partner. I really need to make sure that this is only available to him for a certain period of time. To do that, I go into confidential mode, make sure that it expires in 1 week, I hit save, and I'm ready to send it.
One of the great things about confidential mode is that it doesn't just work in Gmail. So if you have customers or partners that work on other email platforms, the email will also be redacted. So Semi's task is just a sneak peek into how G Suite can be used in the enterprise and assisted in those tasks using machine learning. Google Cloud is working consistently, innovating, to make sure that G Suite becomes even more smart, simple, and secure. Thank you.
Thank you. What a great demo. But actually, it's not a demo. This is how we work, which is what makes it even more amazing. Now, I'd like you to hear from one of our customers, our really valued customers. So please join me. Oops, I think we went for it. Please join me in welcoming Hilda Clune, Technology and Transformation Leader globally for PwC and a former CIO for PwC Australia. Welcome, Hilda.
Hey, Jen. Hi, everyone.
So, can you maybe give us a quick introduction about who you are, what you do, and your company, and a little bit about your journey with Google?
Okay. So let's start with PwC. We are a network of firms globally, about 150 territories, all independently owned and operated by their own respective partnerships. So quite an interesting and complex organisation. My role currently is as the global executive sponsor for the network's adoption of Google Cloud technologies. So I have only just joined the global team in the last 12 months. Previous to that, I was the CIO of the Australian firm. I joined in 2009 and have had the absolute pleasure of working with Google from about 2010 onwards.
Great. So maybe could you talk to us a little bit about some of the key business drivers for your choice to partner with Google?
Yeah, so we had a network problem to solve, and that problem was really about the very old and clunky messaging system we had. We needed to solve for a platform that was modern, that had a great user experience, and that was going to really encourage a change in behaviour for our firm. So in 2014, we launched on an RFP to replace our old Lotus Note system with something a little more modern. And the opportunity to look at G Suite as a platform for us popped up, and there are a lot of really attractive reasons why we wanted to go there. So selfishly, as a CIO, a cloud solution is incredibly attractive, and I love the mantra of make it Google's problem. So I've lived that for the last few years, I think. I think the suite of applications, the interaction between the applications, the ease of platform, the world-class user experience, we wanted to make a deep change, not an incremental change. And so the opportunity to partner with Google was a great way to send a message that we were on this absolute journey to digitise our organisation and to provide the best tools we possibly could to our people. And that change and that message and that, that moment where we said, well, we're going Google had a really positive impact to our people.
That's great. And you've seen, we showed the demo, and I'm sure you can relate like I do to some of the things that you learn to know and love as part of G Suite.
And it's amazing how quickly that becomes the baseline. Mm-hmm. I think that's the thing in an organisation when you've lived Google and G Suite for so long, that is just, baseline for our people. So, I think the only thing I'll add is recently we've been able to see some metrics about how our people behave within the G Suite, and there's nothing more enlightening than being able to actually see how many people create native Google documents, how many people collaborate, how many people comment, co-editing, really interesting metrics around how the platform truly drives collaboration.
And you've heard a few of us mention some of the surprises or discoveries we made. What were some of the discoveries that you made that maybe were unexpected?
Yeah, so we, both in Australia and now globally, as a network, we've been in this space for the last 3.5 years. And, we started out to solve a problem around how we can create a platform of collaboration. But I can take the kind of journey from two perspectives, and I'll start with the journey of cultural change. So in looking at how we moved from our legacy environment into a new world, we solved for more than just the messaging and collaboration. We solved for an environment of cross-territory working. So the ease of 220,000 people across our network being able to connect seamlessly, and mostly via video as well as other G Suite applications, has really changed the way that we connect across the network. So it's truly improved that collaboration. We continue to see some of the more recent G Suite apps, Cloud Search, for example, and how we can use that app to solve other problems beyond the G Suite, app scripting, solving integration problems. There are so many benefits that we've yet to really maximize in the platform. So I think that for us has been massive, and we're on this journey of continuing to optimize. From a technology perspective, as a technology leader, I love the fact that I don't have to worry about infrastructure, currency, upgrades, DR, backups, you know, all of those things I have now made Google's problem, which is just, you know, a very, very liberating way to operate a business, and it allows us to focus on the high-value business problems that we're here to solve in a digital environment. And I think for me, the partnership with Google has just proven to be a wonderful platform, and we've got an organisation like Google who is, you know, famous for your innovation and your ability to aggregate and process data, and then you've got an organisation like PwC who's a leading professional services firm who's respected for their insights and they're trusted. You know, that partnership is a very, very powerful partnership for us. So.
Well, we have enjoyed your partnership, and we'd like to thank you for being such a wonderful partner, such a wonderful customer, and also thank you for your trust in Google Cloud.
Thank you.
Please join me in thanking Hilda. Great. So we've talked about infrastructure transformation. We've talked about work reimagined. Now we're going to talk about intelligence everywhere. So Paul talked about this plethora of data. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel like I'm drowning in data. And that's really not beneficial. We need to find a way to drive insight from that data. And so think about where the opportunities are for you in your organization to leverage technology to help you grow your business or help drive better insight. How do you find that signal in the noise? Whether it's better understanding of your customers, your users, your employees, your product lines, or your supply chains. All of this data done digitally. Well, AI and machine learning has really transformed how we leverage data inside of Google. It's enabled us to build systems that learn by example, which opens up a whole new set of problems that we can solve. And we've been building, I mentioned before, AI in a number of our products in Google. I think all of us know Photos, where you can easily search. You can even search with emojis now to find birthday parties. And at the Google I/O Keynote this year, they showed how we can take a black and white image and recolor it intelligently, making the grass a beautiful green, and even an outdoor seating with the wooden tone. Quite incredible. Of course, we all have seen the advances in translation and being able to go from one language to another fairly seamlessly. And you saw an example of Sheets with natural language processing. This is by far one of my favorites, I must say. I had an example where I didn't want to have to think about how to set up a pivot table for the data I wanted. I just typed in and I thought, I wonder how good this really is. Sure enough, right there, a pie chart was created. I was like, this is amazing. But what you may not know is that all of this is powered by TensorFlow, an open source framework. So Colin mentioned our passion around open source. That means you can use this in Google Cloud, or you can use it in another cloud. You can use it on-premise, or even on a device, like a phone. You can run it anywhere. We've invested really quite heavily in hardware acceleration for machine learning. Because we were doing so much machine learning in Google, we were chewing up all of our CPU cycles. So we built this custom ASIC called a TPU, Tensor Processing Unit. For those of you who are familiar with machine learning, we do a lot of matrix math. And so what this chip does enables us to do that much faster and more efficiently. A cloud TPU provides 180 teraflops of performance. Now, if you think about Moore's law and this progression of CPU, that's 7 years in advance. Quite amazing. This year, we announced version 3 of the cloud TPU, even more powerful, even able to do more. But not just in the cloud anymore. This year, we have also announced an edge TPU, so a custom chip that allows you to do machine learning at the edge. Now, this is important for a number of applications where maybe there's time sensitivity. You can't afford a round trip to the cloud. So now, and look how small this is. We can fit 4 of these chips on a US penny. You guys don't even use pennies anymore here, but we still do. We run TensorFlow Lite in constrained devices, and we can leverage now this edge TPU to do that. And we also offer a fully managed service, Cloud IoT Edge, which allows you to manage the full life cycle of machine learning from edge to cloud. So you can now build your models in the cloud, deploy to the edge for faster inference, but manage that life cycle in a seamless way, whereas Hilda said, you don't have to worry about the infrastructure. We take care of that for you. Now, as amazing as this sounds, there are still barriers to machine learning. And part of our mission is to make AI accessible to all developers and to all data analysts. You shouldn't have to be an expert. And there's 2 things that we're doing there. One is around automating the complexity of building the models, and the second is around bringing AI to the tools that you already know. Let's start first with automation. So until recently, if you wanted to take advantage of machine learning using Google Cloud, you could do one of 2 things. One, you could use our pre-trained models, right? So we've trained these on all of our Google data, so very good models, and you could just use them using an API. And we have a number of customers who are taking advantage of this. But let's say you had a very specific industry use case. Well, then you were set to build your own model, until recently. Now we've announced AutoML. And what this allows you to do is take away that complexity of building your own models. You can now go straight from data to prediction with minimal machine learning skills required. I would like to introduce Markku, who is going to show us AutoML in action.
All right. Good morning, Sydney. How's everybody doing? Good? Yeah, good. So I love visiting Australia, and I especially love the candies. One of the things I love here. So I was thinking, could we use machine learning and AI on Google Cloud to make a Freddo detector, to make a Vegemite detector? Let's see. And because I'm a lazy developer, I'm also a very bad developer, I wanted to automate as much as I can. So I decided to use AutoML. Yay, because I don't know TensorFlow. It's number 1 on my personal to-do list. But because I don't know TensorFlow coding, I'm using AutoML. So I did the following. Yesterday in Singapore, I went shopping. I bought some Australian yummies. I've got them right here on the stage. I took photos of these yummies with my phone, and I uploaded the images as examples to AutoML service. This took about 10, 15 minutes. And basically, I told AutoML that these are pictures of hundreds and thousands, these are pictures of Freddos, and these are Vegemite. You get the idea. And then, how did I actually create my custom model? Well, there's a big blue button that says Train. I can do that. So I clicked the button Train. I went for coffee, as you do. Just as I was getting my flat white, I got an email from AutoML. Your machine learning model is ready. Okay. So how do I use that? Well, like this. I take my Maltesers. I take my Raspberry Pi, because I'm the IoT guy, so I do that always. I take an image of the Maltesers, and I send it up to the cloud to AutoML Vision. And in this case, with just one line of code, I say, instead of using the standard model, please use my custom model. And if everything goes like in the movies, I get back a label saying Maltesers, which is the label I defined. Okay, and then just for some fun, I send this label to Speech API, which is another machine learning service, and I get back an audio clip saying Maltesers. And then the Raspberry Pi can actually output that sound. So let's see. This is a live demo. So yes, and it's my code. It's even worse. Let's see what happens. So here we are. We are on my Raspberry Pi now. And then what we can do is we start the app. My model name is Taco Bag. Yes. And we switch to
Cloud Auto ML.
The Cloud Auto ML model. And first, let me show you. I've got my Raspberry Pi here. And this is you guys. You are there. Hello. And here on the table, I've got some yummies. So let's start with this one here. What is this? So we take an image with the Pi camera, goes up to the cloud.
Freddo.
Yay, Freddos! We've got the Maltesers here. Let's see if this works.
Maltesers.
Maltesers, all right. What is that? My personal favorite.
Tim Tam.
Yay! Very yummy.
Hundreds and thousands.
Ooh. By the way, the 1.0, if you're wondering about that, that is the confidence of AutoML. So AutoML was pretty confident that's hundreds and thousands. It's 1.0. This one looks good. What is this?
Raspberry shortcake.
Raspberry shortcake, all right. And last but not least, the legendary can is right here. What is this jar?
That's Vegemite, mate.
Right. Yay, there we go. All righty. Thank you very much. Back to you, Jen. Cheers.
That was great, but now I'm hungry. So we talked about how, in addition to AutoML and automating machine learning, we also want to bring machine learning into the tools that you already know. And Colin mentioned this morning that BigQuery is now going to be available in the Sydney region in Q4, which we're super excited about. But another thing that we're super excited about is that, with BigQuery, which is, for those who don't know, it's a very large big data warehouse in the cloud. Many, many users are known to run queries that might scan 5 petabytes of data or more and return in seconds. It's amazing. I've done my own. It's all with SQL, right? Select star from whatever, and voila, there it comes. But the question is, how do we bring intelligence to that data? Because again, I mentioned just having a lot of data doesn't really help us. So this is why we created what we call BQML, so BigQuery Machine Learning. Now we can allow millions of analysts and scientists to build machine learning models directly in BigQuery. So you can use SQL syntax, no need to learn the new tools. Although I'm with Markku, TensorFlow is on my list as well. But this is directly in the database, so now you don't even need to move your data. Another huge value for you. And you can build your models and predict in seconds. So this is going to be really exciting. As soon as we roll out BigQuery, I'm sure this is going to be one of the very favored features. AutoML and BigQuery ML make machine learning simple and useful for everyone, developers and analysts alike. Now with that, I'd like to bring up another one of our valued customers, Emma Gray, who's the Chief Data Officer for ANZ Bank. Please join me in welcoming Emma.
Thanks. Hello.
So, I'd like to first start once again with just an introduction. Can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, your role, and what you're doing with ANZ Bank?
Sure. So I think I might just retitle myself as Chief Make Some Signals from All the Noise at ANZ. So I'm the Chief Data Officer, and my job is to really drive insight from all the data we have for our customers, for our bankers. That's really my job across. We have an institutional bank, we have a retail bank, and a small business bank. And a couple of fun facts. Just in our institutional bank, we have 300 data containers. We work with 34 regulators across different jurisdictions. So it's a pretty complex environment. And in terms of the things that we're doing with the cloud, at the moment, we're talking about driving customer insights. So for example, we can take aggregated, de-identified customer data sets from our payments transactions, and we could use them with an airline client, for example, to help understand customer patterns and actions before and after boarding a flight, which is helpful in their partnership strategies, for example. We can also work with companies on helping them optimize cash flow, on some of the working capital, liquidity concerns, through analysis of data that is much more pertinent to how they run their business than how they think about getting a loan from a bank. I guess the other way we're using it is a productivity tool. So for our bankers, this is really how we reimagine work. So I'll give you an example. Analyzing credit card data. In the past, think 8 massive computers, 5 days, everything running in parallel. And that's a process that now takes us 20 seconds. So that's really helpful.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you've talked to us about some of the great things. What were some of the challenges that you've encountered along this journey?
So 300 containers, 34 regulators. So obviously protecting our data is incredibly important to us. And so working through not just within the boundaries of ANZ, but also in each of the jurisdictions. So, Australia, New Zealand, US, UK, Singapore for most of what we need, and then outside of that. So that's been a really important process for us. I think a big one is educating, I think somebody called them the Leviathans or the stodgies. For many bankers, a cloud is a fluffy white thing outside the window. And so helping people understand what computing speed really looks like and time to insight really looks like is really challenging. And so for us, it was really about trying to take the right use case, which we did with Google, and then put that in front of people who hadn't really thought about a different way. And so that's really what unlocks things for us.
Yeah, great. I know at Google we really value the relationship we have with our customers and the partnership. Maybe explain to us a little bit about how you see the partnership from your side.
So I'll be honest, I didn't choose Google. It was our developers. So I was just, I want speed, and I want the best tools to help attract and retain the best people, particularly in the Melbourne community, which is where we're based. You can tell I'm wearing black. But it was our developers, our data scientists, who did the comparison, and they chose Google because of the tools. They were very keen to get on the tools and the machine learning. I think for us, the biggest thing is, well, how did we get beyond POC? So in bank terms, POC is kind of the big thing, and actually getting from there to production is a pretty big deal. So moving beyond POC, it was actually, for me, much more the softer things. So we're feeling a lean-in attitude from Google, kind of rolling your sleeves up. Gosh, this stuff is hard. Yes, it's hard. And so having your people come and work with us has been, for me, the most positive thing. So look forward to lots more of that as we go to the next 299 data containers.
So we talked a little bit about next. We had a big collaborative announcement today about the partnership with ANZ and Google. But so what's next?
The 299. Sorry, I mean, there are a lot. So look, for us, getting data to the cloud, in one sense, is the easy part. What's really tricky is all of our internal processes to turn getting a new use case onto the cloud, having that be something that takes days, not months, right? Those are the kinds of things in Bankland that's challenging. And so we're very much focused on how do we reinvigorate and speed up some of our own internal processes so we can go faster. Because frankly, the sky's the limit for us in terms of what we can do. It's more a question of how fast we can move.
Well, I know that we are just thrilled to have such a great relationship with you at ANZ Bank, and we thank you for your partnership, and we also thank you for your trust. Thank you. Please join me in thanking Emma. All right, final stretch. So we talked about transforming infrastructure. We talked about work reimagined, talked about intelligence everywhere. I'm going to invite my colleague, Paul, back up onto the stage to talk about how do we unleash those developers. So Paul, please.
Thank you, Jen. I have to admit, I love being in the audience when we have demos. Did you like the demos? I think show, don't tell is a mantra we need to keep working on, because I think it's wonderful. So turning data into decisions, you need to turn those decisions into action. And it's really about how do we enable developers to move to this world where they don't have to care about delivery of infrastructure? How do you unleash them so that they can deliver the value, connect your organizations, your enterprise with your customers, your stakeholders, your machinery, or whatever as effectively as possible? When we think about developers, maybe 3 core areas that we believe they care about. 1, go fast. It's all about velocity. Did I mention instant gratification before? I think that's pretty high on the list. You want to get there as quickly as possible. But even if the developers want to do that, their managers will sit there and say, you know, if you're an average Fortune 100 company or something, you'll have several thousand applications, and you want to continue to realize a return on the investment that you've made in those apps. So how do you make them participate in this cloud era and get the maximum value? But then ultimately, you want to have choice. Choice about where you run, choice about how you develop, and the tooling and so forth. So if we think about the developer world and how it's shifting and changing, there's definitely a pattern you should have seen it when we think about infrastructure, which is really about abstracting it away so that we can make operations more productive. Well, guess what? For the developer, it's the same. We want to abstract infrastructure away so the elements they care about really become about function, become about code, about doing useful things, as opposed to about managing the artifacts, the things that sit underneath. So if we think of the path of productivity, you know, we've provided choice in the past, and we will continue to do so. People can build their applications and services on VMs, and have been able to do that in Google Compute Engine, and will continue to do that. Up-leveling it a bit, much more modern into this world of containers with Kubernetes, and Docker provides a kind of single deployment mechanism and a single lifecycle mechanism that can span multiple clouds, but you still have to care about those containers. The world we're going to is really much more about environments like platform as a service. So Google Application Engine is up there today, and I think it's about 10 years old, and we have 320 billion applications or requests a day to GAE-based applications. So it's scaling really well, and that's fantastic. But the world we really want to get to is to be serverless. Now, in its biggest sense, serverless is really about not having to care about any of the infrastructure that supports any of the applications and services you consume. So in that big rounded sense, you know, things like BigQuery are serverless in some sense. But from a developer's perspective, you want to be in the business of just creating and deploying the code that you care about and not having to care about all the other stuff. And so serverless, we announced at Next that Google Cloud Functions is at version 1.0 and GA at this point in time. And what it allows you to do is to create value, to develop applications incredibly quickly. These are typically event-based, and they will call snippets of code. So an example would be as you see here. You can imagine that someone uploads a file, and the problem you want to solve is you want to figure out whether that file contains data that needs to be protected or looked after in a very different way, whether it has privately identifiable information. So what we do is a file gets uploaded, we detect that, it goes into a bin in Google Cloud Storage, and that triggers a Cloud Function, which could only be a couple of lines of code. In this case, the Cloud Function calls the Data Loss Prevention API, which sits there and looks for personally identifiable information inside the file and decides which bucket to go and put the file into. And you can do this with just a couple of lines of code, and it takes almost no time whatsoever to do it. So instant productivity, instant value. You don't have to care about the millions of libraries that you used to have to bring along, and then all the stuff around the container and a server, operating system configurations and all of that. It just disappears and makes you productive. So serverless, you will continue to see progress on that. In terms of delivering existing applications, you want to hide them behind APIs. As an architect, which is most of my career, APIs are probably the most important thing that you have to care about as you build large sets of applications and services. They're your contractual agreement with the rest of the world in terms of allowing it to interact with you and to take advantage of the value that you deliver. So with APIs, and specifically with Apigee, we can allow applications to participate in the new age. And so we can wrap those and provide a cloud-based API to existing assets that our customers have built. One example is with Walgreens. They're a pharmacy company in the United States. They're actually combined with a British pharmacy company called Boots, for any of those of you who remember them. What they were able to do with Apigee was to actually front a set of existing applications and services that they've had for many years, and they created a set of cloud APIs that were more scalable, more secure than what they had before, and were accessible for building new applications. So they used this internally to develop new apps and services much, much more quickly. But also, they were able to expose them externally so that other organizations could extract value or deliver new value on top of Walgreens' existing assets. This, I believe, is one of the more important things when you think about innovation and the value of platforms. It's the ability to monetize someone else's idea and innovation. You build a platform, expose it through APIs, then someone else, innovation happens, it just tends to happen somewhere else by the law of numbers, and they can innovate on top of you, and you both get value out of that innovation. So an enormous opportunity. Say, Apigee, please go and have a look at it. Very, very helpful in allowing you to realize more value of the stuff you've already built. In terms of making things stateless, go back to that theme of helping a developer get out of the business of having to care about underlying infrastructure. We've been working tirelessly on additional tools to take all of our customers stateless, regardless of whether they're on Google Cloud. So we're engaging with the open source community, and we recently have provided a thing called Knative, which again we announced at Next. Knative is a set of tooling that allows you to integrate into Kubernetes and to turn a Kubernetes environment into a serverless platform. So again, open source allows you to build that. And what we also announced at Next is Google Kubernetes Engine Serverless add-on. So this takes Knative, integrates it with GKE so that you can actually build a serverless environment on top of Google Kubernetes Engine. Again, all about taking the developer away from having to care about the underlying infrastructure so they can focus on velocity, i.e. delivering new value as quickly as possible to the business. So to summarize what we've talked about this morning, we've talked about really the imperative to innovate, because cloud has created an environment where there is universal access to technology resources. So you have to think about divesting. Get out of the business of delivering what doesn't truly differentiate you and make it someone else's problem. Hopefully, we provided a compelling argument why we believe Google is the partner for you to do that with. But then it's about investing in turning data into insights and decisions, and turning those decisions into action. Again, hopefully we've convinced you that on that investment side, working with Google around data and analytics, working differently, and writing code and being able to focus on that instead of the artifacts, again, enormous opportunity for us. All because you have to innovate. So we've talked about ultimately transforming infrastructure at the foundation. Initially, how do you make your infrastructure behave as a cloud and get all the benefits on-prem? How do you make sure it's the same as off-prem so that you have one operational model that allows you to migrate to the cloud when the time is right for you? And hopefully we've shown that Google Cloud should be the best cloud for you to run that on from a perspective of scale, performance, and security and trust. We've talked ultimately as well about actually how you transform work or reimagine work. Innovation and productivity both go hand in hand. You have to allow collaboration to be different. The data shows that individual productivity benefits stopped improving probably 10 years ago. And this is really about how you have to get collaborative tools to more effectively connect people together so that you can make sure the team as a whole is greater than the sum of the parts. You have to work differently so that you can innovate. You've shown how you have to put intelligence everywhere, how you turn data into insights and decisions. That torrent of data, 2.5 trillion bytes a day, has to be turned into something useful. Otherwise, as Jen said, you're just going to drown. And once you have those insights and you can figure out how to differentiate yourself or deliver new value, you have to build the apps and services that truly leverage that. And you want to do that with velocity, as quickly as possible. You don't want to focus on underlying infrastructure. Make that our problem. Make it go away from your perspective. You shouldn't be doing that. So this digital transformation journey has been part of a long journey. If I think about computation and where it started here with human beings. My wife's great aunt, actually, on her wedding certificate, lists her job and occupation as computer. Her husband was an engineer. Quite possibly the first case of an engineer marrying their computer, which is quite surreal. And that was in 1956. So we've got this digital transformation story. We've gone from human beings as computers to analog devices like slide rules to digital transformation today. But the first digital electronic programmable computer was created somewhere around 1940. As my kids would say, are we there yet? This journey is ongoing. We're talking about this transformation, and we're 60, 70 years in. Google will help you with your transformation, but not just from the digital domain, but also as we move forward, exploring new boundaries of computation. We're investing in technologies such as quantum computing that will allow us to solve problems that you cannot algorithmically solve with digital computers today at all, even with all the compute capacity that Google can bring to bear. So we're with you not just today, and we're committed to delivering value for our enterprise customers today in the digital domain, but we will be with you in the future, and we will be helping shape that future with you together. So thank you very much for listening to me and for joining us. To tell you a little bit more about the rest of the day, I'd like to hand you back to Colin.
Thanks, mate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, just very quickly, guys. Thanks, thanks, Paul. Thanks, Jen. Thanks, Emma. Thanks, Hilda, Natalie, and Asuka as well. Great stuff. Hopefully you learned a lot from that. There's a lot more to learn through the course of today. So please immerse yourselves in the sessions. We've got the breakout sessions starting after tea, Exec Connect as well. We've got the showcase. We've got everything happening. Challenge us. Please get hold of a Googler and challenge him or her about trying to figure some more problems, yeah? And I do encourage, just once again, 4:30 this afternoon, you want to be here for this lock note. This is really, really important. So thank you again. Thanks for joining us today. Immerse yourself, challenge us, and we look forward to seeing you at the end of the day after the more learning experiences that you have. Thanks very much. We'll head off to tea.